Hi.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. So I often hear that from clients that I don't have enough clients. I don't know how to get more clients. Where do I get clients, right? And this idea of sales is just sometimes one big scary problem. People think it's just like, I am just not good at sales at all, period. And let's break this down a little bit, right? There are really two major components when it comes to sales. One is lead generation, and the second is closing. And so I'm really excited today to talk about lead generation, to really demystify this process, and also talk about the deeper reasons why you might not be getting leads. So, and I'm to have this conversation. I'm really excited to invite my friend David Ho here, sales expert, and we're going to chat a little bit more about the process of lead gen. Um, but first, I am Carissa Begonia. I am a business coach for BIPOC entrepreneurs, a LinkedIn expert, and a top voice. I'm a second generation Filipino American daughter of immigrants and the first and only in my family to start my own business. I really believe that entrepreneurship is the path to equity and life design is liberation. And at Conscious Exchange, we're creating an ecosystem and a movement of BIPOC entrepreneurs with this mission to achieve time, location, financial, and occupational freedom, not just for themselves, but for their families and for their communities. So I thank you all for joining today on Wisdom and Wellness, where my business besties and I share some practical as well as mindset tips around these questions that we're often asked about when it comes to running a business. So if you have a question or you just want to say hi and share some love, let us know in the comments. All right, speaking of my business besties, I brought one of my dearest and closest friends for a very long time, David Ho, sales expert David Ho, here to talk about the art of sales. So welcome, Dave.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. So, my name's David. I am a sales coach. Pretty straightforward, simple. Um, I've known Carissa for a very long time, and we've discussed a couple of things, including some of the reasons why uh, entrepreneurs are having hard time creating leads or closing leads. So, since I do this and I've done 30 years of sales, I said, ask me anything. So here we are. All right.
Yeah, I love that. Fun fact, Dave was a little bit of my sales coach when I got started. I was like, Dave, like, how do I do this? Give me a process. Like, what do I say? And so I'm really excited for you, Dave, to kind of join me. Obviously, as one of my dearest friends, so we can talk about this because sales can be really scary. And I think what it's been awesome to work with you and what I've heard from like people who've worked with both of us, right, is that Dave makes it really easy and like is gentle. It's like not this broy sales, aggressive kind of marketing, sales strategies or sales tactics. So I'm very very excited for you to join us today. But I'd love to hear a little bit too, because sales is about relationships. I'd also love to hear about just what's a fun fact. I know you're a salesperson, so maybe you can share a little bit more about your sales background for people who need to know the accolades and stuff. But at the other part of it is, I just love to know you're such a fun person, and I want to people. I'm like, I rolled up with my good vibes T-shirt today because I'm like, we gotta make sales like easy and fun for folks. And I'm like, Dave, we don't need the tie, or like
Oh,
we
I
don't need the shirt.
was trying to be professional. I don't know what you know.
But y'all, Dave is like, again, I've known you for such a long time since our college years, right? And it's just such a fun, easygoing person. So I just love for you to share a little bit more about, yeah, your sales background. Would love that for the audience, but also, what's just a fun fact for people to get to know you better too.
Oh. Used to be, we went to college together. That's how we met. And we used to do a lot of things. One of the fun facts, Filipino American Student Association, that's where we met. And funny enough, I'm not even Filipino, but I should have been in like the Chinese Student Association or something, but I met all these great people there, so including yourself, and that's how we got started. I mean, you see me, my family. I have two kids, two wonderful sons, 14 and 4. My wife thinks I'm a funny person, so that's good. That's how I got her. Yeah, humor, man, humor, um, and and good credit score, and a good credit score. That's what you need. But myself, like I'm 40. I'm 41 now. Ooh, sometimes you forget that extra one. But, and people are like, "How you done 30 years of sale and everything?" But I have. I've done 30 years of sale. Like, so a fun fact about me is like I started when I was the earliest recollection of a real sales job that I could have is when I was 12. And that does not mean I was breaking any laws. I wasn't paid for it. It was volunteer work at the YMCA. So if you were, not that the YMCA is using children, to sell, but uh, as a volunteer, so what I did was, I guess you could call it B2B business. So the YMCA put out this big sponsorship book at the every year. The Chinatown YMCA would sell sponsorship pages on their book for this huge gala that they did fundraising for. They had it once a year and everything. And my job at the age of 12 with some other volunteers was simply just to go into local businesses and sell advertisements. So if you think about it, I learned a lot of foundational things from the very start before I even understood what those lessons were. And I really developed that like leather skin for sales before I even knew what I was selling. So, I mean, if you can imagine like a kid at 12, what are you supposed to say? You have two things in your hand. You have like a little sponsorship book and like a pricing sheet, and you're like, "Hi, can I talk to your boss?" It's I mean, you get to become really good. And I've learned a lot of lessons that even in my 20s I didn't realize I picked up from when I was 12. But now I'm 40, and like I can look back and I know there are some really great foundational things that I picked up from it. I understand them really well now.
Mm,
And here I am. There's what else have I done? Financial products, was licensed, retail bank, mortgages, retail sales. Quite literally, I worked for Apple at one point, selling iPhones, but iPhones sell themselves. So you just have to bring them there. Um, there's a lot of things that I've done, and I realized, like, I can and I have consolidated those 30 years into like the most fundamental lessons and the most efficient and effective things that like a salesperson can do in order to generate leads and close for themselves. I did commercial real estate at one point, 8 years of my life at one point. Yeah, I closed everything. Everything, everybody, and every person I spoke to that I could help was a potential lead, and ended up becoming friends because it didn't matter if they needed 100 square feet of cubicle space or $35 million, multi unit complex that happened too, like 35 $40 million deals that we closed. So it didn't matter whether it was small or big. It's really looking at the process, knowing if something's real, understanding like the client journey, and then just bringing them there. So I've sold everything, so it doesn't matter if it was an iPhone or a $35 million, $40 million piece of property. I've sold everything. So
yeah. Well, that's two things that you kind of said here. One, um, or that I'm picking up is sales is just a skill. It's a life skill, and it's a skill that you can learn over time, and basically applies to everything. Like we're talking about. I work with mostly coaches, consultants, online service providers, right? But like so a lot of these same things will apply regardless of what you're selling: an iPhone, commercial real estate, financial services, etc. And the other thing I heard, and I'm sure we'll talk about like later, is just relationships, right? It's like how do you really support people and they become your friends? That was a big thing for me when I thought about my sales process and like developed my sales process. It's like I like literally I want people that I'm talking to be my friends. So, and I'm vetting these people just as much as they're vetting me,
yeah,
right? So, um, anyway, let's go into something you also said was like leads are everywhere, and I
yep.
believe that too, right? Like when someone has this question of like I don't know where to find folks, I'm like, okay, like what? Like this is not something that should be a problem, right? So can you let's get just into this really practical part first. Like where how do you find leads? Like what are some of your favorite ways? Because I think there's so many probably ways in which you can find people. So what are your favorite ways to find clients, find new leads?
Well, first of all, correct. They're like leads are quite literally anywhere and everywhere. There are so many different ways. I mean, back in the day, you can actually do any of these right now. You can blog, you can email market. There's tons of social media methods at this point. I'm a little bit. I would call I always say I'm analog. Like I carry a book of ideas. Like a pen and piece of paper in a little bag, like a sling bag I have. Um, I'm trying to transition to iPhone notes, but in any case, I'm a little bit more analog. I believe in the method of using your network and having advocates, and really just because the best referrals, the best clients are the ones that already know you and are willing to take a few minutes to listen to you. And I think that even if prospects aren't from that network, they are great advocates because they of the relationship that you already have. So I'm like that old school networking. I'm that, let's meet somebody, let's give them our business cards, let's cultivate the relationship. That's who I am. So I teach how to do that really, really well. But there are so many ways. Take for instance, you, Carissa, you are like the queen of LinkedIn. You only need to pick one avenue and become extremely good at it. And so, I mean, I've taken your course as well, and like the stuff that you tell me about LinkedIn, it's gold. Like I've never really used LinkedIn that way, but when you take one model and just say, okay, this is the avenue I want to pursue, and then really hone in on it, focus in and find every way to do it from that single like one pipeline, then you can master it and you can bring in a ton of leads.
Yeah.
So I mean, lead generation is everywhere, and I mean, quite frankly, even if you didn't want to do it, even if you didn't want to do lead generation, there are a lot of people that do. And I mean, we don't all have money and we don't all have like daddy warbucks or anything. Like if my name was Rockefeller, like but it's not. So but you can even pay somebody to do it. You can pay a SEO guy, you can hire a social media manager, and you can have all those things happen for you. You don't even need to, you set the foundational things of what you need to be done. They go out and do it, you pay them, and leads come in. So I mean, leads quite literally come from anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. And just to illustrate that, right? Like you could literally be at the grocery store or the coffee shop and just doing your thing. I mean, how many of us work at a coffee shop like these days, right? Remote work. And you're just, you're tapping away and maybe you look friendly. I'm about to make some stickers that say like, come talk to me, right? Because I think sometimes we're a little bit, don't talk, like we look like don't talk to me, but hey, we're business owners, like come talk to me, right? Um, so but yeah, like you just if you just know what you're doing, what your work is, and someone inevitably asks you, what do you do, can you share that, right? And like that can happen anywhere. At a party, you know what I've heard more recently that I've been loving with my clients is I am at a party, Chris, I'm at an engagement party, or I'm at a wedding or birthday party, and I'm having a conversation and someone asked me about my services. I got a client or a lead at an engagement party, and I'm like, yes. And that's kind of aligned with your saying is um uh the people around you, your network, they already know you. There's some kind of familiarity with why you're at that wedding or why you're at that birthday party, right? And so there's a little bit of that guard down already. And then the way we network in the West is just like, what do you do at some point? And as long as you know what you're saying, can say like something pretty clearly and interesting, people probably be like, ooh, right? And might need your service. So don't shy away from explaining, like talking about what you do and your business, because even at a party, and maybe more commonly, when I talk to my clients, some of them, like most of the common ones, it's like, of course, I was just at a party and someone asked me. I was like, and I got a client from the party, and like, yes,
That's
so
great.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love that. But how about Dave? Like, are there, if there, for folks who are like really like just starting, like are at a loss, and like I don't even know what to do, where to go. What are some of the
Okay.
three? What are like maybe the three like best, like fastest ways that you can find like leads?
uh, well, I mean, first, want to talk a little bit about like the fastest way to find leads. I would again, because I'm old school. Um, Here's pro tip, and this is a really good one. This is not just coming from me. This is coming from Ryan Searhan from Million Dollar Listing. I worked with him before in commercial real estate. I mean, his methodology was he tried to put 7 business cards in 7 different people's hands per day. It'll be surprising. Like that's really hard. It's extremely hard. I tried to give people my business cards, seven straight. Like if you've tried that, but it's a simple. Here's my goal, right? So that's one tip. Here's my goal, and it can be just give 7 business cards to 7 different people. And that's one way. Myself, I used to have a list of daily activities. One of them was make sure I contact 5 of my close personal, relationships, and see what's going on in the business world. And you never know. People think brokers are not friends, but we were. Like brokers' best friends are other brokers. Like, what deals do you have? What are you working on? Really? I have a client that you never know what kind of business can be generated from simply that. And then a third part, I like to automate a few things. That way, I do a little bit of paid, advertising SEO. I make sure that is, effective and make sure all of my websites and my advertisements are funneling warm leads towards me. So those are the 3 things that I think people can implement very quickly. You don't need to have a big budget. You don't need to have that to, business cards don't cost a lot. And calling friends and family and, making sure that your name is out there, that costs nothing either. So you a little bit of balance. Um,
Yeah.
3 quick tips.
Yeah. I'll give some too as you were kind of sparking some ideas. For first of all, Dave was mentioning that I have a lead generation. I do lots of lead generation on LinkedIn, and that is my gold mine really. And I have a training that I did on LinkedIn lead generation on my website. So if you want to go look for that and do some a free training, it's there. But some other things that I've more recently talked to clients about was referrals, right? Referrals, collaborations, and past clients. So one of my clients was like, wait a minute, I re-upped, one of my clients, and I didn't even think to do that, Carissa. So sometimes your next client is your current client, right? So don't forget that sometimes even though you think you're finished working in your coaching like container with them, some folks want to continue with you. And did you give them an opportunity to do that, right? So there's some folks there. Referrals, so like you're talking about advocates and your friends, and like so maybe and the cousin at your wedding, right? The wedding, right? Like you don't know who might be also, they might not be your partners, I'm sorry, your clients, but they're your biggest advocates. And so are they even aware of what you do? Have you asked them to refer you and to like maybe make suggestions about your work, if they, or again, give you some people that you could talk to and reach out to that might need your services, right? And then the third is collaborations. So that LinkedIn lead generation class I'm telling you all to go to, I did that in collaboration with one of my LinkedIn friends, Tanya Bhattacharya, and because we have similar audiences but different, and so that was another way to generate newer leads, by cross marketing, by collaborating with folks or friends that we provide different services but have similar audiences. So those are some of my favorite ways to also find new leads. Um, and what I'll say about that is, we can Google this, Dave. Like you and I can like list 100 different ways in which you can find new leads. So this question of like, where do I find them? Like, it's out there. Like, and like we just gave you several like things. Go do it right now. Go download, go watch this training, right? And people still don't do it, right? And so I think there's a deeper, bigger reason of like, it's sometimes it's not that you don't know what to do or where to find them, you're not actually doing it, you're not going to do this activity. And so I'd love to hear from you, Dave, like what in your experience, what are some of the main reasons of why someone, even though they have all the
Mhm.
information, won't actually go out and do prospect, find leads.
It's easy. It's fear. It's simply fear, and I'll go into the different types of fear. There are a lot of common ones. even the most seasoned and grizzled, sales reps, they know what to do. They have their list of activities that they know they must do in order to fill their pipeline, but they don't do it. They hesitate. And there's a hesitation. Why is there a hesitation? Because there's always fear, and the different types of fear that prevent you from doing it. Before I get into it, I just want to address like the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is simply this: like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're the CEO of your own XYZ company, or I'm consultant, I'm a or I started a bakery shop, whatever it is. If you are an entrepreneur, it's simply put, all the world is sales. You have signed yourself up to be your own commission based job. Like you said, hi David Ho. I'm like, would you like a job? It's commission based. Sure, why not? It's like, you get to call yourself CEO of XYZ company. I'm like, that's great. I still have to sell something. Otherwise, I am a very poor company and I might go bankrupt, you know?
Oh my god, I love
Just
that. Like y'all, if you aren't hearing that, like if you're an entrepreneur, you signed up for a 100% commission job.
it's a lot of people don't realize that. Even doctors, if you open them, you spent all this money, you became a doctor, you're amazing general practitioner, but if you open up in the in
Private practice,
yeah,
yeah.
private practice, and nobody comes to see you, you're not doing your marketing, you're not doing your outreach, nobody knows about you, nobody's coming in for that fancy degree to, I need some, antibiotics, doc, and nobody sees you, you have no customers. What happens? It's a sales job. You need people coming in to buy your service or product. But that's essentially what it is. It doesn't matter if, like, what it is you do. If it's your company and you're an entrepreneur, you're a sales person. So, but I mean, now that we've addressed that, it really comes down to fear. So again, even people that really know what they're doing and know exactly what to do don't, and they hesitate. And it's happened to me before as well. So I'll go into a couple of things. First one, the fear of asking. Weirdly enough, that is a skill that people must acquire. So everybody is afraid to ask, especially since, I mean, you and I, your children of immigrants. We're always taught to stand on our own 2 feet. We don't ask, we do. We really, you go into the grid, but simply asking is part of what we should be doing to build our business. And when people don't do that, when you don't ask, you don't get. You know, and a simple methodology of overcoming that, and it sounds so simple, and there's so many simple methods of overcoming fear, but I'll give you a straightforward one, and it's a little bit of a story, but I'll explain to you how easy it is to overcome. It's simply building a muscle. Like, I have a 14-year-old. But when once upon a time, he was 5, 6 years old. He's always been into Pokemon cards, right? Like, we go to Target, we're at Walmart, wherever it is. If there were Pokemon cards, he's always, can I get this? Can I get one pack? And I so what do you make me buy every time? I'm gonna spend like $10,000 on Pokemon cards. Like, but so this is one of the things that
It's
I
lots
used
of
to
trips to
do.
Target.
one of- one of the things that I did was simply, I said, okay, fine, you can have it, and this deterred him for a little bit, until he figured out how easy it was by overcoming his fear. So I gave him $5. I said, go ahead, you pay the cashier. And you can imagine, as a little 5-year-old, he's just like, "Ooh, what?" And he was and instead of just taking, as an adult, we're like, okay, that's super easy. You just go to the cashier, you give her the money, she gives you a change, and that's done. The reward was there, but he was so scared of doing it by himself that he would put back the Pokemon cards onto the shelf and say, okay, that's okay, I don't need it. But then, you walking out, he really wanted it. And I did that a few times, and but eventually he wised up, and that bravery came out, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I remember the first time, I even have like the foil wrapper to commemorate that memory, because he took the $5, he walked up to the cashier, and it was funny because he's this little guy, right? He's looking back at me, am I doing it right? He's looking at the cashier. I'm sure his heart was palpitating. He's like, here you go. Like, and he's like shaking. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, we think it's cute because we realize, like, come on, this is not anything to get scared over. But he had that fear, right? And he didn't know if he was doing it. It was unknown to him. But when he did it, like you can see the cashier thought it was super cute and gave him the change and he's like, "Oh, I got it." And he
Yeah.
got super excited about it and we went home and then next time it was easier and then next time was easier and now I'm just like, "Nope." Now I just have to say no because if he could, he'd grab my credit card and buy a whole box. So and he's 14, so I just like it doesn't stop at 5, like he's
Yeah.
5 to 14. He's always asking me for Pokemon cards. I don't know what's going on. But but that's just to illustrate how what we think from the third party outside point of view, our perspective completely different from the person doing it. We go, it's easy. That the reward's right there. Go take it. But
Mm,
the fear of asking, oh, but
mm.
I'm like, and it's really just a fear to overcome by doing.
Okay.
Start asking, get used to asking, and eventually that muscle will grow so big that you're going to ask and not think about it.
Yeah.
Do you think my child goes to he always like, "Can I have your credit card?" He'll run right up to the cashier and get no hesitation. But that's how far he's come and that's how far everybody should come when it comes to asking.
Yeah.
It's just something people are scared of. It's something to overcome.
Yeah.
That's not true. The fear shouldn't truly be there, but do, and it gets easier and easier over time to the point where you don't need to think about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave, that I think especially you said like as children of immigrants, right? Like we're not taught, I think especially as Asian identifying folks, like there's something about saving face, right? And so asking sometimes is we can associate with a weakness. If you can't just do the thing, right, that could look like weakness, right? And so I think there's a reason, deeper reason why like it's so hard for us to ask for things, even in America, like US Western culture, right? um we have all the answers, like everything, you could do everything, right? And sometimes it's like, okay, when we ask for anything, ask for help, ask for money, I think asking for money especially, right, is scary for immigrants, children of immigrants, to be, because like that's audacious to ask for money, right? Like, yeah. So thanks for sharing that. What's the next one? What's the next fear?
Um, there are a lot of other different fears. Fear of, I hear, oh, this is a good one. So I hear a lot of fear of, oh, I'm like, hey, did you contact so and so? They were super interested, whatever it was. Like, let's say I was training one of my associates in commercial real estate, or even I own actually another business, a local business in which it's fitness. And when the lead comes in and they seem really interested in like, ooh, what is that you do, etc. I'm like, okay, contact. Did you call them? Did you email them? What did you? I don't want to seem too pushy. I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to be a sleazy salesman. Or I don't. I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Where did you come up with that? So there's a fear of this perception of I am, like I think everybody can relate. I don't want to be like a used car salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, where did you get that? And so let's address that fear of that image, the image of being that person. And here's a simple, this is it's it's so transparent. I'll give you example. That image, that negative stereotype that everybody has in their head about being that aggressive, sleazy, or inauthentic salesperson, like there's also the opposite. When was the last time you went to an Apple store? I worked at the Apple store. When you go in, they go, "What's your name? Did you have an appointment?" Things like that. So you were going to buy an iPhone. Was the salesperson sleazy? Was the salesperson inappropriate, inauthentic? No, they're there to help you, right? When was the last time you were at Best Buy and you were looking at a big screen TV or something like that? You're like, I'm kind of curious, but I need some questions. A salesperson is there to help you, to get you further along that process. And of course, like obviously the goal is to sell you something. But if you think about that, when did you see them, did you view them as like a sleazy used car person, salesperson? No, you didn't. They were helpful. In fact, I get annoyed sometimes when I'm like, where's the help? I can't find somebody to help me.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for, and that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
So as much as there are, negative stereotypes out there, the image of the salespersons are too pushy, to whatever, No, completely opposite. They want your help. They need your help. And you have to understand that which stereotype or which image you choose to embrace for yourself is going to be the aura, that sense that you give off. If you feel like you're pushy or inappropriate, you'll come off as that way. If you feel like you're going to change somebody's life and help them, that's the way you're going to come off. So I mean, that's just a simple mind shift change. It's not always that easy, but actually that simple.
Yeah. It's I think that what you pulled out was you're helping people. Remember, you're helping people. You're not asking for
Yeah.
money. You're telling people how you can support them and help them change something that they really really want to change, right? Or address. I want to give you your flowers here, Dave, because you sort of mentioned it, and you're talking about Apple and Best Buy, these bigger brands, but um, you're, if you don't mind me sharing, like you're a business, you're a gym owner, like you. So you,
Yeah, I forgot to
you
mention
because
that.
your
I'm also, yeah.
sales coaching is like your second business, right? Like you physically own a gym in which you're bringing in members in daily, new members in daily. And if you don't mind me saying, it's also a CrossFit gym, which has this connotation of intensity and scariness and beefy dudes that like do I belong and fit here? And I'll say, because I was part of this gym, y'all, you made me go from I don't want to go to the gym. I went to that CrossFit gym when I lived in New York 6 days a week, right? And it's because it was so comfortable, it was so friendly, it was very diverse in terms of people there, body shapes, but all the things, abilities, and like you convinced me to who's been working out for a long time, right? Like to come to this CrossFit gym when I was like, no, like I don't CrossFit now, right? Like, and now like I'm in there 6 days a week and have discovered that I can PR deadlift 300 pounds. So like, like that was so awesome for me, an experience for me to have. And I wouldn't have gone in there, frankly, without you like telling me. My brother's been telling me to go to do that for years, and I'm like, now. And then you opened the gym, and you convinced me, right? Like, and I loved it. And so even you've sold everything from what your investment banking, commercial real estate, to what's it called, to gym memberships, like some of the most feeling like broy kind of places, right? And you did it well, and you do it well. So I think just wanted to like offer that to you too. Like, yes, you're using these
Thank you.
brands and all these other things, but to create a gym that feels so friendly and welcoming and open to folks, and for folks that really need support. I don't know if you want to share anything about that experience of like helping people, that when they're ready, like basically how to get them to join this gym that generally has, again, a negative connotation, or like of just being a bunch of beefy muscleheads, right? Like, and having anywhere like teenagers to 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds coming in here of, again, all shapes and sizes, getting healthy.
Right. So we actually, it's funny that you mentioned we used to be a CrossFit gym. We are not an affiliate anymore because we actually felt as if the word CrossFit scared people. And
Mm,
our whole thing when we built this was, the friendliest gym in Rockland County. So that was our motto, and we had to live by it because that's who we were. So we didn't want to be the image of whatever gym it was, because obviously, even from what you said, I was scared. CrossFit, that's not for me.
yeah.
That wasn't, and we realized that. So I'd like people to realize that they can embrace their own image. Again, if you feel like things are too aggressive, things are too scary, or whatever it is, but you're not, like, you're who you are, make sure you convey that. And that's how we did it. Like, we made every mistake in the book. We opened without clientele. Like, month one we had like 5 members. It was but because we were authentic and we were who we were, and we built our brand based off of like who myself and my partner were, the friendliest gym in Rockland County, and that's exactly what we stuck to. We've always been that. It's never changed. We've grown our community, and the people that come to us, we're genuine with. So I mean, my advice, especially for that, is, and I'm piggybacking off of what I just said. It's you don't need to be an aggressive salesperson. You don't need to be an inauthentic salesperson. You just simply need to be who you are. And if you're not any of those negative stereotypes you view as from sales, then great, because that's how you're going to convey a positive, bright message. And whatever it is, whatever product service you're selling, it's going to come back to you. And like-minded, the aura, whatever, they all, it's like a magnet. Like-minded people find like-minded people. So if you're a great person, you're gonna have great clients.
Yeah.
So
So be yourself, because someone is looking for that, even in when the stereotype or like the image or what you see commonly is this. There's You can be different, and people want that, and they're looking for that, especially
exactly.
when you're friendly and genuine.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what's the last wait, one other fear maybe that you can
Oh,
address before we wrap this up?
this is I guess this is a very common one.
Okay.
This is probably the biggest one. It's fear of rejection.
Mm.
So, oh, I know. Yeah, it's the same feel. Like, the fear of rejection is a common thing. So it doesn't matter if you're, sitting at a bar about to talk to somebody. You want to talk to that person at the bar, and you're like,
So
it's a fear of
awesome.
rejection.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the same feeling you would get calling or approaching somebody for business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite literally, um, that gut feeling that nobody wants. The hearing no. Everybody's scared. Like, it's just a universal fear. It's a universal scared of that feeling. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to hear no. Right.
Mhm.
I can share two really quick tips in regards to this, and one of them is, it's one that I don't love, but it's a reminder. Remember, back to the point of you are an entrepreneur. If versus hearing no versus, and you have to remind yourself every time you hesitate to do your daily activities or your outreach or whatever, you think to yourself, well, hearing no is okay. Why? Because you base it, you versus, if I don't hear no's and I don't go after and don't do these daily activities, I don't pay my mortgage. That's even worse. I don't have a
You're
main.
saying, like, you'd rather hear no rather than like nothing.
Correct.
Because
Remind yourself of the bigger picture, like, oh, that no doesn't seem, it's like, it's very minuscule when compared to what happens if I don't feed my family. Like, oh,
yeah.
it's okay, I'm gonna reach out to a couple of people via email, via phone calls, whatever it is. That's less scary when compared to what the outcome could be if you don't do any of those activities.
Mm.
So just remind yourself, like, what am I doing this for? What am I going to accomplish? What are the consequences of me not? And sometimes that's a little kick in the butt, or
And
simply,
no
okay,
isn't bad, right? Like
no,
no is learning. I think reframing, I'm saying like, okay, when
correct,
they got a no, it was an opportunity for you to learn something if you wanted it
correct,
to be yes. Because the other thing is sometimes you want it to be a no because you're like, like, remember, we are vetting them too, just as much as they're vetting us. Like, you
right.
have control too, right? Don't forget that. So sorry, just wanted to mention, like,
It,
it's not bad. It's not
no,
a bad thing to get the no.
not.
It's a learning
It's not
opportunity,
at
or
all.
sometimes it's a good thing. It's a
I
blessing.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Frameworks are good. Like, if you understand your metrics, let's just say, and this is, I guess, a really quick tip number two, to reframe those no's and understand, like, what no really means. No
Mhm,
doesn't mean no. No means not right now. No
mhm,
means, like, again, if you know your metrics, no means you're that much closer to a yes. If, let's just say, I know my closing rate is 70 to 80% with somebody that, if somebody with somebody that's interested or asks me a question, and I go, you're asking for a reason, and I understand
mhm,
that, and I
mhm.
dig deep enough, I'll understand that, I'll be able to make a sale or close it. 10 calls or 10 interactions, and five of them, will be just conversations. We'll call those no's. The other five, three will be not quite yet, I'm interested, whatever it is. Let's just say I know out of the last two, one will say yes, and there's a sale. I look forward to getting six or seven no's, because mentally, I know that, hey, I've gotten to number six, I've gotten to number seven. What's going on? I didn't get to have conversations. People aren't picking up their phones, et cetera, et cetera. I've outreached seven times. I've got two more because that's my average. I'm only two more steps away from making a sale. I love the no's. I want to get through those little steps. I want to have those no's because I'm getting to that yes real soon. It's coming up. And to have that feeling and to see it from that point of view, no's are fine.
Yeah.
I know, like, as many no's as there are, there are going to be X amount of yeses. So just a mentality shift of I'm not afraid of no's. I love hearing no's because it's getting me that much closer to where I need to be.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm like normalizing no's. It is actually it is part of the sales process. Like
Yes,
you will get no's at some point, and then
absolutely.
like you said, like as you build it, you know your close rate might be 70, 50% right now, but the goal is these no's are teaching you how to get to an 80, 90% close rate, 100% close rate, right?
What when you get
Like
real good, yeah.
yeah. So they're learning opportunities, right? And an opportunity or a blessing disguise. Like that was a good thing that we didn't work together because you never know. Sometimes
Exactly.
it should have been a no, right? Like actually.
You
Um,
can say no. Yeah, you can yourself say no. Yeah, correct.
well, thanks, Dave. Like these have been really awesome tips. Like not just, yeah, this addressing like, hey, how do you find leads? How do you find people? And honestly, like that's not really what the problem is. It's you know how to do that, and um, there's other deeper things going on that might be the real barrier to that, right? And the biggest thing is like rejection, not rejection, try.
Yeah,
Like you got to practice, you got to put yourself out there. Remember, this is 100%. You signed up for 100% commission job, and I think the biggest reframe for like that I had is, um, it's not you're not asking for something like you're sharing and offering how you can help somebody. I think that's usually the biggest way for me to like think about sales is all right. Right, like can you reposition it as not an ask but an offer to support.
correct.
Yeah. Well, friends, we are about at time, and so I know. Listen, I know sales is scary, especially again when we're asking for this first time. Dave just went through three different, like at minimum of like three different fears that people go through when they're just trying to, sell their offers. And really, what we want to do is make it really fun and exciting for you because you do not have a business without sales. Generally, y'all are starting off as solopreneurs, right? So you're the salesperson. Not this is not something that you can um, delegate or give to somebody else, right? And so you have to get good at it. And hopefully, what we can share with you is how we've made it fun and exciting and an enjoyable thing to do. And today we really focused more on the lead generation process. But if you remember, I said in the beginning, it's not this lead generation is like part one. The other part that people struggle with is the close now, right? And so Dave and I will be hosting a workshop on how to do that too, right? So we talked more about our, like leads today, but we really want to talk about part two. It's just longer. It'll take more time, and so we're excited that we're going to be hosting a workshop, a 90-minute workshop on October 19th. It's a Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. PST, so that we can go through um, the biggest mistakes you're making when it comes to sales, unpack why you're not closing, and how you can really fix that quickly. All right. So if you're interested in joining us for part two, if you will, of like our mini sales training here, you can register for that in the comments. Really hope to see you there. But otherwise, thank you all so much for joining Wisdom and Wellness today. Dave, thank you so much for joining me as a guest and just sharing your
Thank you for
wisdom.
having me. Thank you for
Huh?
having me. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of
Absolutely,
fun.
absolutely. It's so fun to listen, y'all. I said when I started my business, I was like, I just want to do business with my friends. Like that's all I want to do. Like I want to work with my friends. I want clients that are my friends. So it's really awesome to be able to bring you here, Dave, and into my business. Like we've known each other for decades, and are only now starting to kind of merge some of our worlds. So really, thank you so much for joining me, and for all of you. We'll see you next time. Register for that workshop. Again, it's on October 19th. You can register in the comments, and we hope to see you there. All right. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.